They really think you're stupid, hoping you won't notice how bad things really are. The outgoing Biden administration just dropped a bombshell on incoming President-elect Donald Trump. They've already, of course, tried assassination attempts and indictments and lawfare, but this is a disaster like we've never seen before. They dropped it late this week when everyone is talking about drones.
They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it.
And they knew all about this before the election. They knew about it and they hid it from you. So we're going to get into that in a moment. But first, we just got some breaking news that I want to get into because it's shocking. First up, Janet Yellen, the outgoing Treasury Secretary, the woman who's never had a real job in her life, never built a business, never had to balance a budget for any reason at all. She, dropped a bomb admitting casually that she oversaw a whopping $16 trillion increase in our national debt. And then what was her response about it? Oh, a casual, I'm sorry.
One last question. One not so great aspect of the legacy you and President Biden leave behind is a very large budget deficit, roughly 6% of GDP. Are you sorry you couldn't make more progress on that? And how much of a risk does that pose to the economy?
Well, I am concerned about fiscal sustainability, and I am sorry that we haven't made more progress. I believe that the deficit needs to be brought down.
I'm sorry. I like Zero Hedge's response here. In other words, Yellen has personally overseen $16.7 trillion or 46% of all debt increases in the history of the United States. But she's sorry. Do you accept her apology? This isn't just a small oversight. It's a massive financial burden that's being swept under the rug right now. It was under Yellen's watch, by the way, that the U.S. experienced its biggest debt increase in American history. Take a look at this chart. Yellen was Fed chair from October 10th until February 2014, and then again, Fed chair from February 2014 until February 2018, a period during which she intentionally kept rates at zero for almost the entire duration of her tenure. Well, the backlash is growing, and thought leaders like Elon Musk and others slamming Yellen for this negligence. So why now? Why are we now just hearing about this? It seems like the Biden administration was trying to hide the true extent of the economic crisis until after the election. Maybe they could have just passed the buck to Trump. That was the goal, leaving him to deal with this fallout. And then they can say, look, see, Trump's got a bad economy. He's driving the United States right into the ground. It's a Democratic strategy. It's almost as if they're trying to sabotage his efforts before he even starts. They hate the United States of America. They want it to collapse. So let's dig into these November numbers, which is nothing short of shocking that they just dropped on us. The United States government spent a staggering $584.2 billion in November alone, marking a 14% increase from the previous year. This wasn't just a record for November, it was the worst start to a fiscal year in the U.S. history. The monthly deficit reached $336.4 billion. That's more than double the figure from November of 2022. How do you double it in that amount of time? So just think about that for a moment. Try to wrap your heads around that if you can. In just 30 days, the government burned through more than $500 billion. The deficit was fueled by ballooning interest payments on the national debt, skyrocketing Medicare costs, massive new military spending. So for some context here, just so you understand, we piece all of these things together. The interest on the national debt alone surged by 18%, hitting an unprecedented $69 billion. This is essentially money being thrown away just to service past borrowing. So all of those interest payments, it's just to service all of our bad spending in the past. It's like pain on top of pain. The fact that these numbers are the worst on record in American history highlights the fact that it's being done on purpose, spending as much money as possible before Trump takes office in January, all in an effort to sabotage him and frankly us. It's really a reflection of them hating America and wanting to sabotage us. This is an unsustainable path. And we got data this week showing that if this spending trajectory continues, the national debt could become a drag on the economy for decades. This is not just a budget issue, it's a national security issue. Every dollar spent on interest payments is a dollar not spent on infrastructure, education, or defense. So to put this in historical perspective for you, during the 2008 financial crisis, monthly deficits rarely exceeded $200 billion. Now we are routinely blowing past that mark without even being in a declared recession. They won't even tell you the truth about being in a recession, and we are. It's a clear sign that the United States government has lost control of its spending habits. But there is a bigger war unfolding right now. Let's talk about that. It's Trump's plan to apply maximum pressure on the BRICS countries. He has no choice. These nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, dozens of other countries that joined him are moving to establish their own currency, sidelining the United States dollar. This isn't just an economic challenge, it's an economic World War III moment. The Biden administration has left Trump with no choice but to fight back to protect the U.S. dollar. So now Trump has to play hardball. And he declared war on the BRICS countries last week. He posted this on X. The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over, he writes. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty U.S. dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling in the wonderful U.S. economy. They can go find another sucker, he says. There's no chance that the BRICS will replace the U.S. dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. Ouch. Well, Biden has left him no choice here. Like this week with Canada. During a recent visit to Mar-a-Lago, it was amazing. Trump jokingly suggested to Canada that they become the 51st state if Prime Minister Trudeau doesn't get his act together and stop ripping off the United States.
We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau could become its governor.
And late this week, Ontario Premier Doug Ford in Canada threatened to cut off fuel to the United States if this happens.
We need to be ready. We need to be ready to fight. This fight is coming 100% on January the 20th. We will go to the extent of cutting off their energy.
Yeah, economic war is coming. It's a stark reminder that the United States won't be bullied economically. Meanwhile, Russia, despite facing severe sanctions by NATO, is now thriving. Putin last week said that sanctions had the opposite effect. It drove them closer to China and other BRICS nations. And he said that Russia's economy is growing at a pace they've never seen before. Whoops. Sorry. And we all knew this. Every economist who was giving advice to President Biden clearly knew this. They were just lying. Biden's sanctions had the opposite effect. We've made our quote-unquote enemies even stronger. Even Argentina this week, under Javier Milei, which turned down joining BRICS, this week announced a balanced budget for the first time in decades. The United States, however, is in real trouble. This isn't just about economics. It's about the future of the United States dollar, your family's future, and America's place in the global economy right now. Trump's approach isn't just about tariffs. It's about survival. And the outgoing Biden administration has dropped an economic catastrophe on America right now. And I'm frankly, I got to be honest with you, I'm not sure how Trump manages to turn this around. You know, he kind of admitted this week he doesn't even know if he can get prices down on groceries. I mean, this is the greatest challenge America has ever faced in our 248-year-old history. Worse than communism, worse than World War II. I mean, all of it. This is the moment. Can he put us on a new path by the time we turn 250 years old? I sure hope so. So that's the news update part of today's video. Now I have to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied directly to the decline of the US dollar, the rise of precious metals as a replacement for the United States dollar. And as you know, I'm a big silver investor. I'm a big gold investor because of this exact reason. I mean, the writing is on the wall. And I would never under any circumstances reveal to you my top stock pick for 2025 before January 2nd. But this year I'm making a cardinal exception, and for good reason. The Fed is about to cut interest rates once again on December 18th. There's an 86% likelihood that they're going to do that. Now, the Federal Reserve is not alone on this. Bank of America's chief investment officer has published a preview of global interest rate cuts for 2025, and it's a mind-boggling 120 plus global cuts, yes, internationally, with a projected 124 rate cuts at a time when there is a record $7 trillion in money market accounts, with the stock market, Bitcoin, housing, and gold all trading at or near all-time highs. I'm extremely, immensely bullish on silver. I've talked about it for many, many years on this show. Therefore, I'm not even waiting for the new year to tell you about the number one silver stock in my book right now, not only for 2025, but for 2026, 2027, and 2028 and beyond, by the way. So that's the sponsor of today's video, which is Vizsla Silver. Here's their stock ticker on your screen. They are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Again, here's their ticker right there. Okay, so why? Well, the reason I asked them to sponsor today's video is because of the potential breakout of silver stocks over the coming months. Now, following the coming Fed rate cut and the incoming Trump administration, we could see a dramatic change. Here, take a look at this, okay, on your screen. Adjusted for inflation, silver is one of the most undervalued assets in the world right now, certainly in the commodities sector, but surely in the big picture as well, considerably below its all-time high, set nearly a half century ago. Vizsla Silver, trading on the New York Stock Exchange, is covered by multiple analysts, which I'm going to show you in a minute, their analyst report, okay? Vizsla Silver is in the process of reaching a decision to ramp up their project towards production, making it one of the only new silver miners in the world during Trump's term in office. On the bottom left of your screen here, you can see analysts and their target prices. Notice they've all issued a buy rating, okay? And the lowest price target for one of these analysts is $4.25 Canadian or $3 US. Now, compare that with the current price right now. The share price is $1.80. So the most conservative analyst on this list sees a 66% upside. So what really caught my eye right off the bat when I realized that Vizsla Silver is no holds barred, my favorite silver company for this bull market, is that between Franklin Templeton, Sprott Incorporated, and billionaire investor Eric Sprott himself, 20% of Vizsla's silver is owned by some of the world's most gifted investors. Now, Sprott Incorporated, for one, is considered the largest and most successful asset management firm in natural resources. Franklin Templeton, I've talked about them before, is one of the world's largest financial institutions with 1.3 trillion trillion under management, 1.3 trillion under management. Do you think that they have the manpower to go out and research Vizsla Silver on their own thoroughly and sort of turn over every stone before they actually become its largest shareholder? As you know, I've covered Sprott extensively on this show, and I'm a big fan of what Eric Sprott brings to the table. He's a legend in the business. He has 5 decades of experience in gold and silver. So, guys, Vizsla Silver is the epitome of silver companies in my personal view. Now, check this out. Take a look at your screen here. Look at this crown jewel asset that is making its way towards a production decision to become one of the world's largest silver mines right now. Once the Panuco project starts producing, if Vizsla Silver succeeds in developing it, which is the company's sole mission right now, it would potentially become the 10th highest producing silver mine. Vizsla Silver is developing the Panuco Silver Gold Project in Mexico, aiming the first silver production by 2027, only 2 years from now. Now, the company is well-funded, $90 million in cash. Mexico is the leading producer of silver globally right now. According to Global Data's Mines and Projects database, there are more than 750 silver mines in operation worldwide. 100 of them are in Mexico. Did you know that? So as you can see, the company's silver project, Panuco, has superior economics compared to its peers as a low-cost, high-yield capital expenditure. This is very important to me. When computing all of this and all of these variables of this opportunity, you have to put all of this together. Recently, another silver company, which owns a mine that is half the size of Panuco, just sold for $1.7 billion to one of the world's top silver producers. So Vizsla's market cap is only $500 million in comparison. You see where this comes into play here? When you look at how 2025 is shaping up, you see that silver is in one of the best possible moments for it in many years. So research Vizsla Silver today, trading on the New York Stock Exchange. And not only are the analysts bullish about Vizsla Silver, the company's largest shareholders are Wall Street titans. Franklin Templeton, with over $1 trillion under management, Sprott Incorporated, Eric Sprott himself. So think about that. 12% ownership. Franklin Templeton has $60 million in shares in Vizsla. So guys, go do your own due diligence on this company right now. I'll have links to their website in the description for you to do your own homework. And I'll see you next time, everyone.